Let's go now to the Middle East. The United States and Israel pounding targets inside Iran incessantly at this point. President Trump says that radical Islamic regime's air defenses are being decimated. CENTCOM with an update.
To date, our Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps aviators have collectively flown more than 6,000 combat flights, demonstrating the unmatched capability of America's joint force. We continue to remain centered on our military objectives. These are well-defined and include eliminating Iran's ballistic missiles, drones, and naval threats. It's one thing to defend by striking launchers and intercepting missiles and drones, but it's another thing to eliminate the wider manufacturing apparatus behind them. And we are doing that today.
Let's take a look together. Before and after photographs show the destruction of the Iranian military infrastructure, from drone factories to storage depots. The scope of the conflict is widening now. So from left to right of your screen, what was and now what isn't. Israel announced the start of ground operations targeting Iran-backed Hezbollah terrorists in Lebanon today. And I'm going to ask Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar about that in a moment with an exclusive here on the Faulkner Focus. First, let's go to Trey Yinks in Tel Aviv. Trey.
Harris, good morning. We're now in week 3 of Operation Epic Fury, and overnight the Israelis announced they've launched a ground operation into southern Lebanon. Officials telling Fox News this is considered limited right now, but we have some new video of Israeli forces there bringing the fight against Iran's largest proxy, Hezbollah. You can see in this video taken overnight, these ground troops are supported by tanks and additional ground units that are being used to go slowly into this Hezbollah-controlled territory and try to push back against the incoming rocket fire and ground attacks that are being launched by this proxy group. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz saying this earlier today.
The IDF has begun a ground maneuver in Lebanon to remove threats and protect the residents of the Galilee and the north. The hundreds of thousands of Shiite residents of southern Lebanon will not return to their homes south of the Litani region until the safety of the northern residents is guaranteed.
The Israelis still striking Lebanon across the board, hitting the Dakhia neighborhood of southern Beirut. You can see the aftermath video here. This is a Hezbollah stronghold where the terror group uses buildings to launch their commands for attacks against Israel. Even earlier today, sirens sounding across northern cities amid incoming drone and rocket attacks. The Israelis still looking to the east, though, where they are launching alongside U.S. forces new strikes against the Iranian regime, targeting infrastructure in the capital of Tehran and also going after many of those ballistic missile launching positions in the western part of the country. They say they've taken out 70% of those launchers so far. International focus, though, still remains on the Strait of Hormuz amid incoming Iranian attacks against Gulf countries and a new statement over the weekend by Iran's foreign minister.
The Americans are asking for other countries to come and help them so that the Strait of Hormuz remains open, which, of course, from our perspective, it is open. It is only closed to our enemies, to those who carried out unjust aggression against our country and to their allies.
It's easy for the foreign minister of Iran to say that the Strait of Hormuz is open to vessels that are traveling through. What he didn't mention is that the Iranians are launching surface-to-surface missiles and drones at vessels in the Persian Gulf. Harris?
Yeah, that's an important part. The fact that they're still on the offensive at this point in terms of energy. Great reporting as always. Trey Yinks, thank you very much. Gideon Sa'ar is the Israeli foreign minister, and I welcome him to the Faulkner Focus exclusively today. Look, I want to start with talking about the Supreme Leader, the new one that they say they've selected and put in place in Iran, Mojtaba and Khamenei, and just get your thoughts, dead or alive. There are conflicting reports. I want to start there. What are we dealing with him?
You asked a good question. Where is Mojtaba? I mean, they elected the leader. He's not there. You can hide, but it's better to show up. You can have a video and prove you are alive. It's starting to be embarrassing for the Iranian regime. So let's see, where is Mojtaba? It's an open question.
And what have your intelligence people been able to gather that you can share at this point? Not just on his whereabouts, but what does the military and governmental infrastructure look like inside of that country now? Can they regather? Can they galvanize again quickly?
Well, a huge portion, most of it, of their not only military capabilities, but also military industries were destroyed, but we still have work to do there. And it is very important to keep this mad country. We see how they are acting against all their neighboring states, including the Arab states. They are shooting unprovoked on each of these states. They also use something which is close to modern piracy in the Strait of Hormuz. It is something very dangerous. The Houthis started to do that in the Red Sea during the war against us, but now it might become like a new practice of mad regimes, and that will affect the cost of the living everywhere. So they want to take the whole global community as hostages. That must be stopped, and I think that we are lucky to have a world leader like President Trump that stood up to the challenge and is a leader in deeds. Think how much the world was safer if in previous decades we would have leaders that confronted that. For example, when North Korea tried to develop nuclear weapon, and eventually they did that because the threats that President Clinton said then was not translated to deeds. And now it's much less safer for the neighbors, for Japan, for North Korea. So it is very important when you see such a challenge to the world's security to act. And I think, as I said, we are lucky to have President Trump on board in the U.S. as much as we have Prime Minister Netanyahu here in Israel.
You know, one of the concerns that we've been kind of watching from interviewing and talking with just the public here in America is how the two countries, yours and ours, are working together. And I'm wondering, from your point of view in Israel as foreign minister, what is your political objective at this moment? Is it regime change? You know, Roaring Lion and Operation Epic Fury are different militarily, but their goals and their objectives are what for you?
Well, from our perspective, we want to remove for the long term existential threats from the state of Israel. It is not our wish to go to a new war every year. So it is possibly very hard to do that with the current mad regime in Iran. So now we are trying to weaken this regime by hurting its, I would say, repressive branches like Revolutionary Guards, like the Basij, making it, I would say, possible for the Iranian people to get their freedom, to get their liberty. Eventually, it will be up to them, not to us. But honestly, it was not possible to do that, and it is not possible to do that without any kind of external help, because we saw what the regime had done. They killed and they butchered thousands and thousands of their own people, and no one came to help them. So I believe that we should do our utmost, of course, to degrade their power, to threaten all this region, but in the same time to try to create the conditions for the Iranian people in order to make this change possible.
Well, Foreign Minister, the United States came to help them. The President of the United States, Trump, promised to try to help the Iranian people get to the place where they could take their country back. Those are my words, not his. But to step up in their own freedom. And now with both countries, yours and ours, working together, you can achieve so much militarily. But he did mean to and has come to help. How much more optimistic are you now than you were, say, 3 weeks ago before this entire thing began about peace in the Middle East, or at least an understanding that Iran won't threaten the way it used to because of Israel and the United States moving in?
I think we are already in a situation when Iran is much weaker. Iran is not the country it was 3 weeks ago. It is clearly not the country before the operation of June 2025. So altogether, President Trump had done that, and also the capabilities of this regime to threaten everyone is decreased significantly. And with the issue of the Iranian people, I think we saw they have this desire for freedom. And I believe they will demonstrate that in the future. Of course, it is dangerous. It's not a regime that tolerates liberty wishes, but I believe that we saw that this wish is very strong among the Iranian people, and we will see it in the future. This is my belief.
Look, the really lingering question all over the world is what brings this to an end? Your quick thought on that, Foreign Minister.
Well, in war, you should have objectives more than a timeline. If you have a timeline and you say it publicly and your enemy hears that, obviously, it doesn't help you to get your objectives. So I'll stay with that.
Foreign Minister Sa'ar, it is great to have you on the program today. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Harris. Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.